Marathon Digital Holdings is a pure play Bitcoin miner that churns out about 45 new Bitcoin per day. While getting a pounding up this hour, down 16% at the moment, the stock is up 2,550 plus percent over the past year. Here in a Fox Business exclusive, let's get Marathon's side of the story from CEO Fred Thiel. Fred, talk about baptism by fire. I mean, you're a pretty new CEO joining in the last couple of weeks. If Elon Musk were in front of you right now, Fred, what would your response be to his reasoning behind no longer accepting Bitcoin until the mining process depends more on sustainable energy?
Well, it's really interesting because Elon Musk, better than most people, should know that a lot of the Bitcoin mining is done today using renewable energy. ARK Invest recently published a report stating, by their calculations, 76% of Bitcoins mined are done using renewable energy. CoinShares did a similar report a little while before with a number in the 73% range. And at the end of the day, you've got to realize that Elon Musk is incentivized by selling products around renewable energy. And I think a large portion of the profit of Tesla is actually the sale of energy credits. So if you take those off his P&L, I think the results at Tesla would be rather different. So he has an incentive possibly to really foment this discussion. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with talking about renewable energy. I think it's very important. And if you look at our specific plans, and I think many of our peers in the industry in North America, we're very focused on moving towards green models. We're very focused on achieving carbon neutrality in our Bitcoin mining. And this is a real focus going forward in the future. The key thing, though, is that when you really look at the energy consumed by Bitcoin today, it's less than banking today. It's much less than gold today. And I'm talking just energy consumption, not environmental impact, as you mentioned in the quote, in the tweet from Mark Cuban.
Well,
so I think it gets a little blown out of proportion.
Okay. I do want to just illuminate our viewers who may not know how Bitcoin is mined. This is not digging into the ground. This involves energy gulping computers that perform computational math problems that are very, very specific and complicated. And then if you're able to solve those problems, somehow you then are able to extract from the system new Bitcoins. So can you just run us through in sort of the postage stamp size explanation for people who really don't understand this and why it's a thing?
Sure. So if you think about Bitcoin mining, it's really the process of verifying blocks on the blockchain. So it's a security function of the blockchain. So as transactions happen, they're queued up in a type of FIFO buffer, if you would. And as those transactions appear on the blockchain, miners then assemble them into blocks and then try and solve this cryptographic problem that will validate a block. The first person to validate a block receives a reward in the form of Bitcoin. And on it goes. And that process churns and churns. And there are millions of miners mining who really fulfill the function of verifying transactions on the blockchain and making the blockchain the indelible record that it is and providing the security of the transactions that are on the blockchain.
Fred, I saw the Cambridge study that had come out relatively recently that said 76% of Bitcoin miners are now turning to sustainable energy and renewables because they're looking for the cheapest form of electricity. To me, I'm looking at the other side of this as well. India, for example, is going to institute, or at least it's going to propose, fines against people who Bitcoin mine because they already have problems with blackouts in that country, and they are also heavily dependent on coal, which, as we know, is certainly a bad fossil fuel. Can you just speak to maybe what Elon Musk probably heard from his green customers? I agree with you. He didn't know this before. Sure he did, but he must have heard from customers who said, what are you doing supporting Bitcoin when it really is an energy gulping option?
It's a great question. So if most institutional investors, and Tesla has very many institutional investors, are very focused on ESG, rightly so. So I'm a big believer in ESG as well, and I think that companies need to be focused on the environment and doing social good. The thing with Bitcoin mining, it has a really unique function in that it is driving the very rapid iteration and deployment of renewable energy. If you look at the amount of renewable energy that came online in Q4 of last year, it increased by 45%. Now, people maybe don't have a frame of reference for that, but renewable energy now represents almost 300 gigawatts of power and growing, and it's growing at a very, very rapid rate. The challenge, however, with renewable energy is you can't store it today. And so it goes to waste if you don't have a place to consume it. And as more and more renewable comes online, it needs to be consumed. So the Bitcoin mining industry is the perfect outlet for that excess energy. And that's why I think what you'll see is actually Bitcoin miners are going to drive the cost reduction of renewable energy and actually create an incentive for people to deploy much more renewable energy and accelerate that process.
Fred, I understand, and I do believe, because I've covered cryptocurrencies for several years now, and I do see it as certainly a game changer, and it is here to stay because it is evolution when it comes to payment and currency. However, this example where a company, Tesla, puts out a statement, the Bitcoin price tanks completely. You know, a couple of jokes on Saturday Night Live. The price is so incredibly volatile. This gives ammo to the haters and the non-believers. You know, we just heard from Jamie Dimon last week. He was speaking to the Wall Street Journal. I want you to listen to what he said specifically about why he really doesn't support Bitcoin at all, and then you can comment.
But people have to remember a currency is supported by the taxing authority of a country, the military authority, the rule of law, a central bank, which is meant not to debase it. It's not the same thing as somebody that has no asset back. So I am not a Bitcoin supporter. I don't really care about Bitcoin. I know I'm going to get tons of emails after this. I have no interest in it.
That said, he is putting together products because he says his clients want it. My final question to you, Elon's right in front of you. What do you say to him about what he said last night?
I would ask him, hey, Elon, when are you coming out with Bitcoin mining equipment that has zero energy impact? And when do your products start servicing the needs of Bitcoin miners? Because there's nobody better at battery storage than Elon, and he really should be focused on helping the crypto industry become much more energy conscious and greener. So I would love to have Elon in front of me, and I'd love to have a conversation with him and say, Elon, let's partner. Let's figure out how we really take on this challenge and how we totally green Bitcoin mining.
Huh. Okay, let's see if we can get that to happen. I'd be happy to cover the conversation. Fred Thiel, great to have you on the program. Thank you so much.